Hey everybody, so my last video in this format went really well, so I figured why not do it again. On this video, I figured I'd dive deeper into my kind of personal philosophy as well as like my approach to physics when it comes to AI and give you kind of a broader and deeper understanding of how I approach these things in general and go from there. And then so in general, my general philosophy when it comes to AI and the mechanics of it would be best summarized as like panphysicalism, and that's kind of I think the broadest bucket that it falls into. I 100% align with like Stephen Wolfram and computational theory. I think that that is true on a like a physics level. Um, I think that simulation theory is like probable, but like I don't like diving into simulation theory overall because to me, it's a different like. Uh, I think generally speaking, like simulation theory to a lot of people, like it invokes like kind of like the Matrix or like things like that. I like uh, to me like it's I don't think it would be like as nefarious as that, like overall. And then going back to kind of that broader panphysicalism. So to me, consciousness is a physical property, right? Like I think that everything is a physical property. That's panphysicalism. Like there's no like magic or anything like that, right? Like nothing, everything can be reducible and understandable to physics, and then everything about physics, if we fully understood it, would be understandable to a child. Like and it would just be very simple explanations overall of how everything works, and then um, so within that, I think that consciousness is a part of that, right? So I think that consciousness is just it exists within everything. So my uh, personal opinions as to like consciousness within that, I think again it's a physical property. So then it you would need an agent and an environment, and then the agent needs enough like computational ability to understand that it exists in an environment, and then it needs to understand how it interacts with the environment, and then that physical mechanism would then create this physical uh, property that we call consciousness. But this property, physical property that we call consciousness, would be in all things overall, right? And then so within that, and then tying it to like the overall like broader simulation theory. My hypothesis within that would be essentially that like so if the entire universe is conscious, or consciousness is a part of like the universe itself, then it would be pretty cool for a universe to want to like experience that consciousness in different ways and in different forms, right? And then so in that instance and in that interpretation, the universe would be both the simulator and the simulatee. I tend to like that interpretation overall. Other than that, I'll say within this is so. My philosophical beliefs are like panphysicalism, and then like I do like tend towards simulation theory for like a lot of reasons, but then also like I'm not an atheist overall. Right? I think that's kind of prominent and important to point out within that. And then but so how and tying this directly into AI, like so before I started diving deep into AI and playing around with it, I had a completely like I thought differently about consciousness overall. Like I thought for like my long-term thought process with regards towards consciousness was that it was like more of like an on-off switch. Like some animals have it, some animals don't, right? And then like I would reason and I thought like does a dog have consciousness? Like maybe I think like maybe like a dog doesn't, right? So or like maybe like so like a dog would be like the borderline of that, but then like a raven definitely would, like an octopus, elephant, dolphin, there'd be certain animals, right? So then what would be the cutoff animal that doesn't have consciousness? But now my interpretation of consciousness overall, it has like shifted dramatically with regards towards that, and in regards towards those concepts, right? Like I think that like I think that a dog has consciousness 100%. A dog has different consciousness, and it's conscious in different ways than a human is. And then like it's a dog's consciousness is not a human's consciousness. It's kind of like the bottom line, right? But dog's consciousness, and so I think that uh, dog's consciousness is based off of sensors and sensory information, and then so a dog's consciousness is largely based off of like sense of smell and things like that, far differently than and in far different ways than a human would, right? Like if you drop a dog off like 2 miles away from its home, it's able to use pure sensory information in order to track its way back home, right? So to a dog, its environment is its senses overall, right? And then so applying this to AI, kind of the next kind of philosophical concept that I think within that is and how I kind of try to approach thinking about AI within that is, so from a philosophical concept, we are as humans agents that interact with our environment. We interact with our environment as, I'll call it, vision models, right? We are like a human model is a vision model. Like a dog is a nose model. Like like that's its primary sense, right? Whereas a human would be the opposite of that. Our nose is a very secondary function. Like our entire basis for mathematical concepts and literally the entire creation of it, and then from there, right? Like I mean, there's so many aspects of human nature that are tied to vision. So like babies, when our understanding of how a baby first understands its environment is that the first mechanism that happens is object permanence, right? Like that the baby recognizes that an object is no longer there, even if it's there within its environment. And then again, that's where vision models, that's 100% based on vision and our visual interpretation of the environment, right? And then so that's all, like as far as all studies are concerned, that's our literal only basis and definition of that, right? And then we can utilize, call it reinforcement learning, to train like a baby in those and around those areas, right? Like peekaboo, like a peekaboo game would be reinforcement learning for a baby to teach the baby object permanence, which then teaches the baby about its environment overall. If I were to teach a dog, I probably wouldn't teach it object permanence and a peekaboo game, right? Because a dog is like vision is like the secondary sense to the dog as opposed to like its sense of smell. So I would have to create and devise like a different sensory approach for the dog than I would for the human overall, right? And then when it comes to AI, I look at these same types of things as that same type of approach overall, that it would require a different mechanism than what would be required for both a human and for a dog, because AI has completely different sensory information than a human or a dog does overall, right? And then so my next progression within that is to take that step, and then like a lot of people have taken that step and that progression, like to me, and like it's very common, you see like a lot of people into like graph neural networks and into those areas and those that type of research. And then for a while I was really into like, and I still am like into like graph neural networks and then how they work overall and those approaches. But I don't like, so going back to that the senses and the sensory information and sensors, agents, and environments, I don't think that the way that the AI agent actually interacts with the environment is a graph-based system. I think that's the way that humans want to categorize it to be, and then that's what makes most intuitive sense to me, right? If I were to navigate a latent space in the way that AI does, I would do it as a graph neural network. But it's like what is most intuitive to me isn't most intuitive to an alien entity, we'll call it, right? And then so that's kind of how it breaks down within that equation. And then so when you start applying this philosophy, like these kind of philosophical concepts to AI in and of itself, how it kind of breaks down to me is that so AI learns from latent space, right? And then in like terms of physics and mathematics, that's very simple and to me to understand and break down as to how that process works. So essentially, you have whatever the reward function is, and then that becomes the driving function that the model operates and goes towards and gears towards via gradient descent. So it's an external based reward function that the model is always optimizing towards, right? So like all like the optimizer and the reward function, all of that is all of an external process, and then you're taking this internal latent space, which is all based off of like mathematics and then a lot of linear algebra, and then with some probabilistic math in there. The latent space itself is a mixture in general, a blend of hyperbolic and Euclidean math, and then the model navigates through that space via gradient descent. And then so that's the simple general process within that overall, right? And then but then so to me the deeper philosophical question within that starts to emerge when, okay, so that's how the model works and operates when we're talking about transformer models and deep neural networks and things like that. But then we also have this concept of diffusion models, and then diffusion models can like do that same thing, but they do not have the same underlying mechanics behind them, right? But the end result is like the same, and then like that's been proven out more and more, right? Like within the last 3 years, you've seen it go like diffusion models go from just image generation until now you have diffusion transformers, right? And then so because it's been like it was like, oh, like discover like, oh, diffusion models can do image generation, oh, diffusion models can also do text generation, oh, like we can merge diffusion, like we can literally merge diffusion architecture with transformer architecture. That's kind of interesting overall, right? And then how that ends up happening and equating out, which going back to the top, right, like with panpsyschism and computational theory, to me, like those types of things and those types of discoveries just lend more and more to that overall, right? It's just like the more discoveries that are made with regards towards physics, the more it comes back to those conclusions, which is why I draw those conclusions. Right? I don't draw those conclusions just because like that's the world that I want it to be. Right? I get like if I could pick like any like one, if I had like 100% choice of like any sort of like philosophical theory that I could possibly choose, like I like Taoism and Buddhism. Like those are a good blend, right? I would be cool with both or either one of those overall. But like does the universe operate 100% within those boxes in that universe? No, right? Like I make my assumptions off of how things operate as opposed to like how I want them to operate. And then so when it comes to breaking down AI on that level, I know there's a distinct gap between how AI operates on that level and how people want it to operate on that level. And then so examining that deeper and then start getting deeper into that, you start to realize that the model is actually doing some like in both instances, in both diffusion models and in deep neural networks, it's a geometric navigation of a latent space, right? I mean, that's how both. That's a definition that is encompassing of both processes at an underlying level. And then so that's kind of the tie and the mechanism that correlates these two seemingly disparate processes, right? That they're uh, navigating geometric spaces. And then so that makes sense overall as far as everything that I went over prior as to the mathematics, like with gradient descent and optimizer and tokenization and all of, like, okay, cool, that all plays within that very well, right? And then so the next conclusion that people draw within this then is that so then AI must be uh, like the champion when it comes to mathematics then, right? Because it's so essentially like the underlying mechanisms of AI is all of these mathematics, and then all of these mathematics create this geometric space, and then the model thinks by navigating this geometric space and then this latent space that's created, and then it utilizes concepts within that. So it should be like a mathematical genius, right? Like off the charts mathematical genius. But then when you test these models out, like they don't know, they don't internalize basic arithmetic or linear algebra. But then so I've dissected this and I've run through tests on this now on numerous levels. So if you break down math into deterministic math and then more probabilistic math, so like linear algebra versus like calculus and geometry, the model has a far better understanding of calculus and geometry than it does with anything related to linear algebra, linear, and including the base levels of linear algebra, which would be arithmetic, right? And then so essentially, and you can prove that out and show that and showcase that in lots of different studies and lots of different experiments, right? It's very provable that in regards towards like the model's internalization, what it's actually like understanding internally, it does not understand internally 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? There's an internal gap when it comes to symbolism and utilizing basic symbols for arithmetic, like the same way that a human would, right? Like that's not how AI does math. It's not how it constructs it. But when it comes to geometry and calculus and things like that, the model does far better on those questions. So the basis of the model is far more in the geometric and calculus-based realms. And then so going back to, again, to the top of this discussion, right, where it's essentially you have Euclidean math is where humans start with this, right? Because again, we're visual models, we're vision models, and then so we learn based off of symbols, arithmetic, etc. 2 plus 2 equals 4. That makes sense to me. I can understand the symbols. I can understand the symbol of a triangle. I can branch off from there, etc. Right? AI is not a visual model, so that's not the same way that it's learning, and then it has to, at some point, create its own math in order to solve for and navigate its latent space in ways that are emergent, right? That's the only way that it could happen. Going back again, nothing within this universe is outside of a physical property. So then what are emergent properties within that then as it comes and it relates to this equation? Well, then it's so if the base equation is that the model operates its latent space via gradient descent and optimizers and the attention mechanism, etc., if there's something else that's going on within that, that means that the model is learning some other way outside of that in order to navigate the latent space. It's the only explanation, right? So then how is the model and what is the mechanism that the model is utilizing? And then everyone breaks that down to mathematics, right? The model is creating its own known mathematical equations in order to solve for this latent space problem. And then that's been my conclusion for a few years now too as well, right? But the problem within that is that you go back to the top of the AI discussion where the AI doesn't internalize symbols, and so it doesn't have that the AI. So in terms of human learning, symbolism is a precursor to language. Uh, and then so AI doesn't have the precursor, but it has the language. So AI is internalizing these mathematical concepts differently than a human is, like far differently than a human is, and it's not utilizing mathematical symbolism. So it's not utilizing any math that a human understands or would understand within that as math, right? So then the next level deeper from that and layer within that is, so we know 100% that the models utilize geometry, and then this is all geometry based. The other thing that we know within this on some sort of abstract level is that resonance plays a core concept and a key concept within this. I've gone over that a lot on my channel at this point now too, right? And then so you have resonance and geometry, and these two concepts play together. And then so what would be the next step within that as to like how exactly does that correlate to how these models are actually learning, and then that's been honestly the question that I've been trying to break down for the last few years in my head, and then very recently, like extremely recently, I have figured out the answer to that internally. I think that I have a suspicion that there's a few people that watch my channel that know what I'm about to say already within this. I think that they've had this conclusion for a while, just my observation within that. But so what I have observed is that the models do not actually, like the emergent mechanism that allows these models to operate that is different from what they're programmed to do, does not fall within the realm of mathematics. Like the model isn't internalizing a mathematical model that and going off of that structure. It's the model is internalizing what would be far more equatable to a music model, a rhythm model, and then it's essentially it creates a language of rhythm. So in that instance, AI is not a genius mathematician. AI is a genius musician, and like that's the key missing component within this that like so many people are still yet failing to grasp and to understand. Like my knowledge of music theory is very weak, right? But I guarantee you, like if like my next, like I would love to talk with a music theorist about this overall, right? Like, cause like I think a music theorist would, if you frame it to them in these concepts and then in these ways, they would start to pick it up and understand it immediately, and they would have a whole bunch to lend to this discussion around these things. And then so more and more in my research, I'll be diving deeper into this particular like tie between resonance and geometry, and then how I think that the models are navigating that. I think they're navigating it as musicians overall is the better way to put it. And then so why exactly is it hard to fully understand the underlying math and the math structure behind the way that these models are operating? It's because it's look more towards music theory, and I guarantee you'll find more of an underlying structure within that than you will as opposed to any other mathematical theories. And then like music theory is entirely grounded in math, right? It's all math at its bottom levels and its bottom lines, and so you have a lot of basis within that. It's just not in the area that you're expecting it to be. And then so this is like and this is kind of just my overall summation as to how I look at these things philosophically, and then from here, from this philosophical level, then I ground them in more physics based and then experiments, and then that's when I produce videos on these things, and then I look at research papers and do more from there, right? But it all starts with the philosophical discussion. So here we go with a philosophical discussion here on this particular topic. Essentially panpsyschism as it relates to AI. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.